Good morning, humans. You are here on Set to Love. I am Eva Payne, and oh my goodness, I am so excited for you to meet Kristen Shaw today. Her energy is through the roof. She is amazing. She is a first-time author, self-publisher, and her journey is incredible. She talks about sincerity and the importance of it. And this podcast might just change your life. So sit back, relax, and here we go.
My name is Eva Payne. Welcome to The Flow Life, where we define love as live open, value everything. On this podcast, you are dialed in and set to love. Let's go for a ride.
Good morning.
Hi.
I just saw you talking. I was like, oh, she already started talking.
Oh, good.
But now we are here live. Kristen
Oh.
Shaw, welcome to Set to Love.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to share the power of sincerity with your listeners and audience today. But really quickly, I have to tell you, Eva, that I have learned so much from your podcast where you have illuminated for me that intuition creates flow, which is this positive energy that's kind of magical that becomes the purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how you also were, this was amazing, was that you asked the universe a question and you got an answer. And it was love and value everything, which when you think about it is like divine guidance, right? It's so beautiful and amazing. And I'm so in alignment with this. And I just can't wait to learn more about it from you.
Oh, I love you so much. But it's so interesting, the people that we meet online these days, and just if we're open and we're looking around on social media, there's amazing. Really, I think everyone's amazing. But when you get to connect with people who are in alignment with the work that you're doing in this personal development space, and helping people to find their flow and really just like live happier and more wholeheartedly, like whatever way you can contribute to that puzzle of human evolution is truly beautiful and amazing.
I agree. So today we're going to talk about sincerity. And for me, sincerity is loyalty and power that becomes lasting happiness. And so we're going to be talking about, it's a superpower in trustworthy friendships that are loyal and the kind that defines belonging. And that creates the lasting happiness. One. Two, we're going to talk about the momentum of personal freedom and how choices become our reality. Want to always be mindful of that. And then lastly, the question I had for myself when I became a parent at 44 years old. And as we were kind of talking about before, sincerity is the new happy. I'm just going to show y'all. Sincerity is the new happy, and Sip of Sincerity were published 3 years ago out of sheer curiosity and sheer intuition, because I never thought I would write anything in my life. And it started from a blog, and the momentum just started building and building and building.
I love that. Okay, before you go on, I want to know, how do you define sincerity, and how is it different than other words that might be similar?
Sincerity is real kindness. It's genuine love. It's perfect understanding. It is the superpowered, juicy, makes me shine, gives me my humble, makes me strong. It's like my shield. And people walk through the door, they're going to be kind. You better be all in alignment with what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what you're saying. Otherwise, it's completely BS, and don't bother. Like one of my quotes in Sip of Sincerity is, we are lost without sincerity. There's no point. There's no point. And I'm thinking, why doesn't everybody else think that?
Yeah.
It's such a superpower.
Why do you think it's hard for people to be sincere then? I mean, if that is really like the secret sauce, like just totally showing up 100% sincere, whatever that is, even if it's like, I'm having this slumpy day, or I don't feel great today, or I feel jealous about this thing, or I feel, we want to like cover up and mask what we really feel for some reason, some of the times, especially to people that we don't know really well. But why do you think that people aren't just more sincere?
I think it's all ego driven. I think the ego makes us jealous. I think it makes us judge. One of my
Mm,
quotes in my book is, the more we judge, the less friends we have. Like, just for once, can we not make it about us? Just for once, can't we give it up to somebody? If we can be happy for other people, the
mm,
energy will change. And when another one of my quotes also is, when we smile at others, everybody shines.
mm,
At some point, I think as a society, we're very unhappy because we're so self obsessed. Like, even when we're disappointed, we're egotistical about it. Or if we're too good, we're egotistical about it. But all of our great spiritual healers and authors and speakers say, like, let go of yourself
mhm,
to find happiness. And it really is a relief. It literally kind of happened to me. And that's why they keep talking about gratitude, because
mhm,
gratitude is just being happy for the moments that exist. And we're not attaching to other people's actions. Oh, I love that one. When people don't, I'm all nice and everything, but when people do what I don't want them to do, my ego
mhm,
starts raging. It's always like
mm,
kind of on my shoulder, like, oh, look what that person's supposed to be doing. Even if it's not for me, like anything that they do. And it's attachment. That's very Buddhist, right? That's what it
mhm.
means, attached, like loving kindness. Like, let
So
everybody do what they want.
when you have those feelings, when they come up, do you find yourself now more aware? Do you catch yourself going like, "Oh my gosh, I'm stepping into that ego." And so do you
Mhm.
look at like why you're thinking that, where it's coming from, and then try to work through it so that way
I
it doesn't
beg,
just keep coming up?
I beg and pray the universe, please help me get over myself. Please help me get over myself right now, because this is terrible. And we all know what I'm doing. I'm like, Dad, please help me. Please help me. Because we know what I'm doing here. I'm making everything about me.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Okay, let's go to your first point, loyalty and power, right? Is that the
Right.
kind of
And
the first
so,
part? Let's go
right.
back to
And what
that.
I have to do is give it all to my friends growing up. I grew up in Long Island in the 70s,
Okay.
and in a very middle class area, very middle class neighborhoods and community.
Mhm,
And I learned everything about kindness, the real kind, and sincerity and belonging from my friends growing up right here in my neighborhood.
mhm,
They showed me profound honesty, profound no judgment, in the best way that they could as kids. And I wrote this because of the things that they taught me. Like I always say, like, my family's awesome, but my tribe, there's nothing like my tribes at all. And I
Do you have
think
a
we
s
all kind of,
do you have a story of something that, like, demonstrates that you could share?
it
Is there
just,
something, like, from
it's always, with me, it's always like the stories are hard because it's like a mindset. It's always the
Mhm,
mindset of the way it went down, right? The story came after all of this sincerity and foundation of building that put the personal freedom like on a locomotive train going too quickly because there was
right.
too much comfort and too much, like, everybody was there for each. The mindset growing up was, again, and we spoke about it before, is I learned sincerity from my dear friends and belonging, but it was that they taught me how to give space to other people to be their authentic selves. And
Mm,
so, and that exchange and that mindset is creating extremely powerful and trusting relationships. And it created the authentic empowered me. And so it was always like, come as you are in the 70s,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And so there are stories, there's no stories of being like excluded, and there's no stories of somebody feeling bad or left out, everybody, because we were accepting of everybody. And it was the way it was. And then I moved back here like 40 years later, and it still is like this here. I have no idea how that
mm,
exists in New York, you know? It's like kind of like gangster kindness. That's what we call it here, where everybody's happy and everybody's winning because the mindset was, we are here for you. And this is
mhm.
like the idea of belonging in the early years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And, we love Brene Brown, God bless her. And one of her quotes in Braving the Wilderness is, true belonging doesn't require you to change who you are, it
Yeah.
requires you to be who you are. Right? But that can be hard sometimes because you're afraid of people judging you because we're a little weird sometimes. We say, weird stuff.
Very weird.
But it really seems that that's where the personal freedom begins. Like, you are
Mhm,
celebrated for who you are. And when I think about belonging in sincerity, like, when you're belonging in sincerity, it brings out the best in us. It truly
mhm.
does. And then you could just be free and be who you want to be. And
So true. I just was listening. I went to a conference this weekend, and one of the guys, this PhD, was talking, and very randomly he started saying, and it didn't happen for him until he's older. So I don't know if this is like a thing, but he said what he's like 60 now, and he said when he was in his 40s, he finally just stopped he was talking about relationships, but he was saying how he finally just stopped trying to change to make the person he was with happy. Like he just said, this is who I am. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. Take it or leave it. And he thought that she wouldn't take it and other people wouldn't take it. And he said, when I just finally started to really just show up as myself without unapologetically, then my world opened up and so many more people came into my life. It was really transformative for him just to really say, this is who I am. And I don't care if you like it or don't, but I'm tired of trying to fit into this group or change myself to be with this person, and just truly being sincere to who he was and how he wanted to show up every day, whether it was just he liked country music and she liked rap or whatever, and just even being authentic and true about something as simple as that.
right. And I kind of think that that's what the universe wants for us, right? It
Mm.
wants us to just be our lovely selves, if that's what we want, if happiness is what you're looking for,
Right, right.
And and so even when I was growing up too, and I'm always going to pull in intuition with this because when we'll
Yeah.
see somebody when we're little and we'll say, "Oh, they're so cool. I wish I could be friends with them. I love their clothes. They have such cool friends." But they won't like me because I'm quirky or I'm weird or I'm too old or
Mhm.
whatever. But then sure enough, like through time or very quickly, you kind of become friends with them. And you're like,
Mhm.
and it's not even good, it's like great. And honestly, I've had that like through my life where I still have the pleasure of having the opportunity to be friends with these guys or girls in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I ask now, like, is that the intuitive flow, like leading me to be kind first? Like when I was so young in elementary school to even know that, not be afraid of being rejected, like just go for it,
Mhm. I love
And
that.
so, and this is fun too. I had a dear friend, I was a mom. So now your relationships change so much, like when you're a parent and your mom. And this cool mom gave me a card once and it said, friends are like flowers. And I will never forget that. To this day, I say it all the
Mhm.
time. I use it in my social media because when I was in elementary school, each year I would pick like a fun zinnia, I would pick like a peppy tulip or like a beautiful mom and put them in this garden that I would get to bring sunshine and water to, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, what it means is that I accept my friends as they perfectly are while giving them the space to be themselves because that's their right, right?
Mhm,
By
mhm.
listening to them, not judging them, and really kind of always being happy for them for the choices they make, right?
Right.
Their choices are their choices.
Yeah. I
And
say that a lot. I'm like, "Hey, she's on her own journey," or that she's on I don't know, he's on his journey. Same with my kids too. I feel the same way. It's like they're on their own journey. So the choices that they make, I'm here to love and support them on that journey. I'm not here to dictate and say, "Your life has to be like this," or "You need to show up like this." So I hope that they will do the same for me, and so I do the same for them.
absolutely, it's
I
such a
love that.
wonderful exchange. And then also, like in friendship, like getting over yourself. Because I think a lot of people get into friendships, but they talk about themselves too much. They don't realize, and you have to be careful of your self obsession in friendships as well.
Mm.
And I think that's really what I have learned over the years, like what is the real sauce, right?
Mhm.
And so I think too, it's the kind of energy that many of us wish for, where it's a real connection, again, where everybody's shining, right? Like
Yeah.
sincerely yours, or it's like real love and real genuine kindness. Because what's the point if it's not? And like another quote, that I mentioned before, like when sincerity is lost, everything changes, right?
Mhm.
And if you're not sincere, like if you ask me, don't bother. Like there's really no point. And so I think for that is very powerful. And I've noticed like since I've gotten into this abundancy mindset is that people are very nice to me, you know, and I don't know why, maybe that's why. Maybe they don't feel threatened or that, I don't know. And you can see
Yeah.
it also like when you're a mom too. And one of my favorite quotes, just to give an example of like watering my garden and bringing them sunshine, and I used it like on my young mom friends, and they were like, "Whoa," is that, and it's in my book too. I often tell my friends they're awesome because they are. Isn't that great?
I
And
love it.
so we see this kind of like intense support and love and focus in a lot of group organizations. For instance, you'll see like an emergency room of people of peers that are intensely supportive of each other. There's one thing to help this person, they're saving a life because the stakes are so high. And people can
Mhm.
feel that sense of closeness and support. We see it with our mom friends where we're very, very intense for the welfare of the kids, right? Where they're the
Mhm.
top priority and the sincerity is like overwhelming and it's so powerful, you know?
Mhm.
And it's like football teams and soccer teams, like any,
Mm.
and it's like a camaraderie and it's like all for one and one for all because it's a positive outcome.
Yeah, right, right,
And I think
right.
people
I
kind
love
of
that.
secretly wish that they could do that, but you got to like give it up for the other people first for else for it to come, I believe,
Mhm.
you know?
I love that. I do think it's hard sometimes when especially, like, think about nowadays how many people are really struggling. Like, just they're really in their own way. I mean, depression, anxiety is higher than it's ever been, and
Mhm.
I think it can be really hard for people to be I have some friends, and I can sit with them and hold space, and it's just like, they're really struggling with where they're at right now. But for them to be able to just be real with me and be able to say, like, I'm really struggling. I wonder how many other people they have in their lives that they can say that for. Because especially like living where I live in the suburbs, I think a lot of my mom friends feel like they have to have it all together, like put on the show and life is perfect and I've got it all figured out. And but really inside they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm really struggling, and they're not able to they are able to, they just don't for whatever reasons, like, hold back and aren't able to show up, wholeheartedly in those friendships, and I'm sure that just creates even more stress and more anxiety.
It's interesting. I pray for them. It's hard, but if you just like feel in your heart, like let go a little bit, it's like a
Mhm.
relief, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure. Let's talk about personal freedom. You talked about that a little bit. So where like and I feel like this kinda leads into it, like, where does that personal freedom come from, and what are your thoughts around that?
the personal freedom that so my friends growing up, and your sister was a big traveler, like just if you step outside my door, just middle class kids were moving to Seattle to work for Microsoft,
Yeah.
going to aeronautical school to become an airline pilot, going to France, learning how to speak French in summer vacation, skiing in Chile and Brazil, staying with friends in Kashmir, India, because they got like sick on the road, like with complete strangers that treated him so well, learned lessons beyond words, like
Mhm.
salmon fishing in Alaska, hiking. I ended up hiking a 13-mile trail in Hawaii and was not prepared for it at all. Like, oh my God. Okay. I thought I was like Madonna. I don't know what I was thinking, but it was such an experience. I'll never forget it.
Mm.
And I got a job working in Alsace-Lorraine when I was 24 years old, like for an administrative company. And it was like, and also working on a luxury cruise ship, like in Hawaii, like, because this is what we did. And we just kept
Mhm.
going and going and going. And this was before husbands and wives and children. And it was so badass. Like, I copied all of my friends, you know? And when you think about it, it's the color of life and it's wonderful, but you have to manage it, right? So,
Mhm.
with all this traveling, because you have to have a job, the big thing was when you're traveling, you need to make sure that you have a job to make sure it's basic math. And it begins with
Mhm.
being free of our parents and learning how to pay for ourselves. And
Mhm.
there's so much personal freedom behind that. Like, what city am I going to go to and get a job right now? And what it means is that you're doing the best for yourself, you're self motivating yourself, like to build this self esteem and resilience while trying to keep up with the world and what it has to offer because it's so dynamic, you know?
Mhm.
Your
Yep.
friends are doing it, but it's all the while you're succeeding and getting your ass kicked, right? Because when we try those new things, don't think that it's all going to go perfectly because it won't. And how are we going to learn if it goes? If it doesn't go well, right?
Mhm.
That's when
Yep.
you start to learn. So it creates the potential for financial responsibility. And the most important thing is that we need to take care of ourselves.
Mhm.
But when I think about it, it was like there were so many choices, right? And so many things that I finally like I had to stop and say like what does this all mean, right?
Mhm.
For instance,
How long did you travel for? How
I
long were
was
you
on
out there
I was on the road for
in the
15
world?
years of
Oh,
action-packed
wow.
action-packed years, right? I was, action-packed years. I, wanted to move to San Francisco, tried to become a creative copywriter in advertising, was hyper focused on this, could not let it go for a year. Working, 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 working.
Mhm.
Didn't happen. Had to go pay the bills, had to get another job, completely forgot about that super hyper focused time in my life.
Mhm.
And, in San Francisco, it's a dynamic place. You have to keep going. And I always had a job. Like, who gets a job in France? I didn't even speak French. And so it just went on and on and on. And then, like all of us, I got married for the first time and it didn't work, right? This was another one of my choices, right?
Mhm.
And I am taking responsibility for this marriage to this guy who's not a bad guy at all. But in many countries, like, girls don't have a choice of who they're going to marry, which is,
Mhm.
it's kind of, it's hard. We're all praying for our girls out there and the children as well. But and for me, it was a real changer because everybody's nice when things are going well, but when it's inconveniences you, like in this case, so this nice man didn't want to be married anymore, and you speak about the darkness of your soul, and it really
Mhm.
changes you so profoundly. You go
Yeah.
inside out. We know about that metaphor out there. We get cracked inside and then the light comes in, right?
Mhm.
And our intuition is saying, look at this writing on the wall. And our egos refuse to accept the truth. It's uncomfortable telling somebody else because we're not allowed to say the truth, or
Mhm.
it's like inconvenient. And I would have stayed, but it was just too inconvenient for me. And my mindset from there, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I blamed everybody for the choices that I made. And I could not stop telling the story. Look what happened to me. And it was like, it was so hard because I couldn't find any relief because I was complaining about everybody. And I was so unhappy. Even if I had a new boyfriend, it was like, look what happened to me, blah, blah, blah. And I attracted so much negativity during those years and
Mm.
not enough positivity. And I found myself in the abyss that I put myself in: heartbreak, embarrassment, ego, right?
Yeah, so what was the turning point for you? Like, being that you're playing that victim role for so long and, like, really comfortable there, even though you probably weren't comfortable there at all. What was the turning point for you? What was the thing that made you, like, snap out of that and go, "Oh my gosh, I cannot stay here anymore. I have to start showing up a different way."
Oh, I didn't have a choice. He said, "Honey, it's over and you're gone." I couldn't
Mm.
even like try to. He was like, he had, someone else was in the queue and God bless him. That's what we do. And I didn't have a choice. So I had to
Mhm.
go on the road again. So I had to
Mhm.
pick up my boots and I had to get back on the road. I started working and started my bathing suit company. I just kept going, going, going. Found a nice boyfriend who I thought, started renovating a house, met some new friends, right? Because the old friends are like, no, which is it was all my doing. I signed up for everything, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm on the phone with one of my greatest friends, greatest teachers. Friends come out and they teach you so much. And she was
Yeah.
complaining about her self-centered fiance, and I was complaining about my temper tantrum boyfriend. And I'll never forget it. In my ear, I probably said it while I was on the phone, and it said, I don't do anything for anybody. I really don't do anything except go to work to pay, because we were renovating a house in San Francisco, a big old one on Coleridge Street. And the universe said to me, you don't do anything for anybody. You are a nice person and you care for other people, but it really comes down to being like present. You do nothing for
Mhm.
anybody. And I was like, oh my God, everything everything is my doing. All of this is my responsibility. These choices, I'm on the edge. I'm ready to
Mhm.
fall down 100 feet below all the choices I made. I was so far away from myself, of who I thought and wanted to be.
Mhm.
And it changed me forever. I felt like the universe gave me a gift of gratitude, and it changed my energy. It changed my thoughts. It changed my life forever. And I felt so much better because now there was space for me to say, like, not to say, look what happened to me. I can actually listen to someone else instead of my relentless story. And like, what else? And secretly, in my own way, and I realized during this too, like, I was always kind of waiting for the universe to deliver for me. I think we do that a
Mm.
lot. And that's not how it works. I am here for the universe,
Yeah.
right? And it lifted like a cloud. And I was like, this sucks here, but I'm going to be happy and I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do to get out of it alive, right?
Mhm.
because I got myself into this, right? Do you see how many times we blame people for our adult choices? It's incredible. Like the
Yeah.
ego will push and project, and it's like, oh no, 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 no. That's what I have noticed with
Mhm.
me, you know? And then it became, what can I do for you? And it was just like, it was so much better. I was so much happier. People are like, you think like that now? And I'm like, I don't know how. And I really believe that the universe had to just snap me out of this just relentless blaming of others, ego mindset, you know?
Yeah. So how did your book come about? Like, at what point were you said 3 years ago, your son, right? You have a son, is that right?
I have a baby Viking named Brady. He's 13. He's so
I
cute.
love it.
But, you know,
Baby
it was my
Viking.
friends again. My friends are like, hey, we're having coffee and I'm saying all these things, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
you really need to start a blog. So I started the No Ego blog. And I did like 55 entries. And it was a time again from when I wanted to be a writer. I couldn't stop doing it. Every chance I had. Blogs, blogs, blogs. And then I had to beg my husband, please, can I find a teacher so I can maybe make this a book? And it was like a lot of my new husband, my lovely new husband, who's amazing, right? Great guy, who was my friend when I was 15 years old, by the way.
I love it.
And we put everything together and it took years. I was like, who am I kidding? My family reads, I'm not that smart. Like, why would I want to do this? And it
I
just
feel the
kept
same way.
pushing and pushing and pushing. And we put all of them together with a teacher, and she was like, you have to make sure that you're helping other people, you know? And it
Yeah.
was always the no ego. And then thank God it was Sincerity. And the name of the book was Sincerity is the New Sexy. Like, who's doing that when you're like a mom? So I'm glad it's the new happy. And they came together and it's changed my life. I don't know how. The minute you publish the book, people want you to do presentations in their kids' classes. My friends are teachers. My mom friends helped me elevate the book, like on social media, because you can't do it
Oh,
yourself.
yeah.
And they're so sincere and nice with me. And maybe it's because we're sincere in the first place. I don't know, but I feel that my friends again lifted me and lifted me and lifted me through this process. And now we're doing art shows, we're doing book signings, and now I'm on this amazing podcast with you. And I got to meet you.
I got to meet you
I'm so
too.
glad.
I love it, Kristen. Do you wanna show the audience your book and maybe read a couple of your quotes? Because I think what you've done is really brilliant, and, I just would love for you to share that process for a minute, and then maybe share any final thoughts that you might have around sincerity.
Absolutely. So it started from the ego sincerity journey, right? We all know that
Mhm,
ego creates dreams, but when it comes to like love and reflection and like the real deep stuff, we might
mhm.
want to just let that go from our dear friends Buddha, right? But then, as we were talking before, is that I have these two books, and then another time, a friend was like, "You got to make the quote book," and so we cranked this out as we were getting this one out. It was, it was double the cost, but one by one, and they're all my own, right? Oh, that's a bad one. That's a bad word, and that's even
Yeah, that's okay.
that's a bad word. But
You're
let's take a
so
good.
cute.
Is listening mindfulness? We love this because we all have a hard time listening, right? I do. Less
Mhm.
talking. And so if you take your ideas from the book and make it your own quote book, it's a whole other thing that you can reflect on, build art from, do give as gifts. People are very inspired by it. So one of our favorite ones is, oh, that's a good one. Oh, I often tell others, I often tell others they're awesome because they are.
I
It's
love
like the
it.
book of responsibility. And then also, I could become myself when I do not focus on myself.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, and don't you just feel like it's divine? Like, "Really? I wrote that? I thought
Oh my
that? Like,
God,
where
I
did that
forget
come
everything.
from?"
I know. And I have to thank you so much for your ideas on intuition.
Aw.
You have helped me so much because then I feel like I'm crazy, you know?
I know.
And there's so many good people out there. And I get to meet you.
Aw, Kristen Shaw, it is an absolute pleasure having met you, and I'm just connecting with you online and getting the
Well,
chance to do this podcast with you. I really hope that we get to do it again. Where can people find you?
you can find me on Instagram, KK Shaw 47.
Okay.
That's mostly where it is. TikTok. I have a website, but it's down at the moment. But the real juice is on TikTok, KK Shaw 47,
Okay.
and on Amazon. if you want to get my books, or just, always ping me on DM on Instagram. Instagram seems to be my home office.
I love it. Well, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Thank you so much. I really would love to have you back sometime. You are just radiant. Your energy is profound and it just like exudes this joy off of you. And I love connecting with people like you in the world. So thank you so much for your
Right.
time and for your energy and just everything that you've been able to bring. Oh, here's my sister. Can we have lunch? I told I told you. Wait, are you in Long Island? Is that where you said you are?
Yes.
Oh, you're very far away from me. I'm in
You live
California.
in Southern California. What what city do you live in?
It's called Santa Clarita. It's like
Oh,
it's the most northern city in LA County. So I'm just right
cool.
north of Los Angeles. Yeah.
The coolest. I love LA. I love California. It's gorgeous.
It is. It is. My sister's in Astoria, Oregon. So you'd have to go to Oregon to have lunch with her, but
Okay.
it's
I love my friends in San Francisco. I still go see them every now and again.
okay. I
I
love
would
it.
love to meet you.
I would love that too. Well, hopefully we can make that work someday because you're awesome. So thank you so much, Kristen Shaw, for being on Set to Love. Thank you everyone for being a part of the show today. Please connect with Kristen. Find her on social media. I'm telling you what, you will not be disappointed in how she shows up in this world and how she can help you to
Aw.
live more wholeheartedly and more sincerely. And really that is the secret sauce to life. So thank you, Kristen, so
Can I
much.
just do one more thing and say, go with
Yes,
the
please.
flow? Go with the flow.
I
Go
love
make
that
sure my
that's your mug.
Thursday. It's a sign.
And here's mine for everyone. Always
Yay!
keep believing. Okay.
Keep believing, girl.
Cheers.
Good things are happening.
Good things are happening. Have a great day, everyone.